It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randykabc@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. One of the things that I've been really trying to do this year is say yes to more things. Because when you live in traffic-filled Southern California, it's so easy to just throw up that you're busy and you don't have time to do things and you stay in your home all weekend long and you don't go anywhere. And there is some fun to be had with that, but I had a really enjoyable weekend. And it all starts with actually the big listener event on Friday. I'm so glad if you were listening, you got to come out to that at the Pineapple Hill in Sherman Oaks. We love doing those live remotes, and it is so much fun to actually meet the people that listen to this show and hear all the compliments. Of course, I get flattered easily, especially this is the first remote I've done since I've been on this diet program. And I'm 40 pounds lighter than the last time people probably saw me at one of these remotes. And the compliments are nice. They are very, very, very nice. So thank you to Abundant Life Weight Loss for all that. But it was a great time. And it was so much fun out there. And that just kicked off a lovely, incredible weekend. And speaking of our great listeners, Saturday, I got to do something that I've been looking forward to for quite a while. A few months ago, I decided I didn't care what was going on in the world. The thing that mattered, the thing that needed to be the topic for the 5 o'clock show was the fact that it was National Tequila Day. And I talked about my big love of tequila and how, thanks to this bar in Santa Fe, I've become kind of obsessed and I love my fine tequilas. Haven't been drinking them that much lately because of my diet, but I still love and appreciate them. Well, on National Tequila Day, I got this call from Dale. Let's go to Dale in Cypress. Dale, hello.
How you doing today?
Doing great.
Good. Yeah, so I want to offer something to you. You're more than welcome to bring you and 3 of your best friends over to our office, and we'll give you a tequila tasting that you really would enjoy.
Oh, really? A tequila tasting?
That's right. And we have one of the best Añejo extras that you can possibly have.
Well, that's something I'm just recently getting into, and I'm very, very, very curious. I'm totally interested. Dale, why don't you email me your info at randykabc@gmail.com, and I'll get in touch.
I will do, and that's Commissario Tequila.
Commissario Tequila. I'm going to look it up right now, my friend. Thank you so much for the call, buddy. Enjoy National Tequila Day.
I will. Thank you.
So what do you know? Dale followed through. He emailed at the end of the show and introduced me to his friends, Luis and Steve, who are the owners of Tequila Commissario. And we were trying to figure out a day to come down there. This is right before I was going on vacation. So we nailed down because there's just no possible way that I can get to Orange County and back on a weekday. It just can't happen. Having to do a noon to 3 show in Culver City makes it impossible to do anything except that job, which is funny because it's only 3 hours, but because it's in the middle of the day and because it's impossible to get anywhere, it's not like I could almost ever plan anything before that. Plus, I have the 5 o'clock show that I'm lucky enough to do from home. So we found a Saturday that worked for everybody, and that happened to be this Saturday. And so I get ready to have my morning meeting with my new friends, Dale and Steve and Luis at Tequila Commissario. But of course, because it's a trip to Orange County, that's where their offices are, I had to do some planning. Because my wife was smart enough to remind me as she was driving home on Friday, hey, remember, The 405 is going to be closed for 3 lanes all weekend long. You know this project that's going on where Caltrans is closing the 405 and the Sepulveda Pass every other weekend for like the next year to do repaving? It's not the most efficient plan, but this is where we are. Sure, they did Carmageddon 15 years ago where they just shut the whole part of that freeway down for a weekend and were able to expand a lane, but I guess this project takes a closure every other weekend for a year and a half. But it is what it is. So I map out my route because, well, there are a lot of ways to get to Orange County and none of them are great. And it has me from the valley, take the 101 through downtown, get to the 10110 interchange and take the 5. And then the entire time I'm going, I've got my CarPlay on in my car. And so I've got my Apple Maps. And Apple Maps is quickly saying, hey, the 5's getting terrible. Maybe you should take the 710. And taking the 710 to the 91 is going to be an extra 10 miles, but it's going to save you 10 minutes because the 5 is that terrible. Because the 5 gets to that point, especially around the 710 and the 605, where it gets down to 2 or 3 lanes, and there's been construction there for what feels like forever. So I ditched the 5 at the 710. Got to see all of the card houses, like the bike. Got to the 91 freeway and made it only 15 minutes late to my appointment. Anyway, got to hang out with these guys and try their tequila, and it was a really, really, really fun morning. And I walked away a huge fan, and I can't thank Dale enough for reaching out, introducing me to Luis and Steve, and they sent me home with some tequila as well. It was incredibly generous. So that was a pretty cool part of my morning. I felt really, really special and like, wow, I am very lucky. I put out to the world that I love tequila, and I got that invitation. So that's very cool. I get to do some pretty cool things. Since I was already in Orange County, as I was planning this trip, I was like, well, since I'm already going to be down there, I should try to have lunch with my brother. So I have a brother that lives in Irvine, and I've always made this joke, but I swear I'm not just being funny about it. Irvine feels so far away from where I am. I honestly feel like it's easier to get on a plane and go to New Mexico than to drive to Orange County. Sometimes it takes less time. It's a 2-hour flight from LAX or Burbank to Albuquerque. And sometimes it is well more than 2 hours to go between the San Fernando Valley and Irvine. It shouldn't be, but that's the way we are with our incredible mess of freeways. So luckily enough, I was in Anaheim, and my brother said, why don't we meet in Anaheim? So I got to meet him and his wife and my nephew at the Anaheim Packing House, which I've never been to before. I don't think I've ever been to any part of Anaheim that wasn't Disneyland or the convention center. And it's really cool down there. Parking is insane, but my brother's like, park at City Hall and just walk over. It'll be fine. But this is like a really cool, very European style food hall with all these different eclectic eateries. And I am going to screw up the name of the barbecue place I went to. So let me see if I can find it. It was at the Anaheim Packing District, this wonderful food hall in Orange County with all these cool little spots, and a Randy's Donuts, which was shocking, my nephew's favorite part of it. But he was into the barbecue. He wanted to try some of it. So let's see. Can I find out what it was called? It was, okay. Yes, it was called Encultura Barbecue. Ahu Demaro Barbecue and Bar at the Packing House. And look, I'm on a diet. I'm only really supposed to be eating lean protein and vegetables and fruit. So I thought barbecue can work for that. Like if I have just one slice of brisket and the onions and the peppers that come with that. This place was fantastic. Ahumadero Barbecue and Bar at the Anaheim Packing District. A really good time. And they've got a beautiful outdoor patio that nobody was on, so we felt like we had the whole place to ourselves, where the rest of the packing house was very crowded, but it looked like a really good time. So I got to enjoy that, got to spend time with my brother, who I rarely see, even though it's technically only 70 miles away. And then it's 1:30 in the afternoon. I had my incredible tasting experience at Tequila Comisario. Got to try all of their tequilas, including their Extra Añejo 7-year aged, which might be the best tequila I've ever had in my life. And then I got to have lunch with my brother and my sister-in-law and my nephew. And I was in a really, really, really great mood. I figure it's 1:30 in the afternoon. It'll probably take an hour, maybe an hour and a half to get home. How bad could it possibly be? So I get on the 91 freeway, and I've got Apple Maps open. And Apple Maps, every 5 minutes, is telling me a different story. I'm on the 91. Originally, it says, take the 91 to the 5. And just take the 5 all the way to the 101 and take it to the valley. Simple enough. But then the ETA keeps creeping up on that and creeping up on that and creeping up on that. And then eventually it's like, no. Don't do that. Stay on the 91 and take it to the 710. And then take the 710 to the 5 to the 101. Okay, great. I'll take the 710. And then that starts creeping up and up and up and up and up. And then it's like, no, don't do that. It literally takes away that as an option. It's like, you're not doing that anymore. What you need to do is you need to take the 91 all the way to the 110 to the 105 to the 405, which at that point, I was very confused as to why wouldn't I just take the 91 to the 405? Why would I cut across all those freeways? And the whole time I'm thinking, wait a second, why is it taking me to the 405 where 3 lanes are closed because of the weekend construction? But it is, and I am blindly trusting this stupid app with my life. First off, now I've passed the 710, which I don't think was that bad to begin with, but now it says get on the 110. And I don't know what it is, but the way some of these freeways are structured. But as you're going from the 91 west to the 110 north, it doesn't matter how traffic is flowing, it is an incredibly slow on-ramp. It completely stopped, and it completely stopped for no reason. So I'm sitting on the 110 now, trying to get to the 105. Finally make it to the 105, and it's interesting because the 105 is one of the newer freeways, but the on-ramp to get from the 110 to the 105 definitely looks like it's in need of some repairs. But once you get onto the freeway, everything's good to go, except for it constantly feels like the right lane keeps being closed on the 105 freeway, but whatever. I get over to the 405. My dreaded 405, something I really try not to use on the weekends because I have to deal with it every single day. To Culver City, home from Culver City. Well, luckily, the 405 from the 105 near LAX to at least Culver City didn't look terrible. It started getting bad about Washington Boulevard. And that's when this app that I'm supposed to trust my life with because it obviously knows better than me says, hey, I got a shortcut for you, because it knows now that I'm going into that construction. I am going into the closure of one side of the freeway where all the lanes are messed up so they can do this repaving. And it says, you know what? Since the 405 is going to be closed from Wilshire to Moraga, have I got an idea for you? Take the 10 to Bundy, take Bundy to Pico, Pico to Barrington, and take Barrington all the way to Sunset. And there was just a part of me that hesitated and thought, no, this is stupid. That is not going to save me any time. Having to drive through the lights of West LA never saves anybody any time. I'm better off sitting on the freeway, cranking up my Sirius XM chill channel 55. It's very relaxing. And just dealing with it. But no, I decided to do what the app told me to do. And so I now am crawling to get on the 10. And as soon as I get on the 10 and I see how backed up the Bundy exit is, I realize the problem with all these apps And I've known this is a problem, but sometimes it's worth reminding yourselves. See, they give this suggestion to everybody. And I'm sure the Google people and the Waze people all get the same idea. The 405 sucks, so take Bundy. So guess what? Everyone's taking Bundy, and it's completely backed up. Then you turn on Pico, and that's completely backed up. Barrington's even impossible to get to. So now it says, why don't you go back over to Bundy and take Bundy all the way down till you get to San Vicente? Then you are now on the diagonal street that doesn't make any sense to me because I don't drive around West LA that often. It took me what felt like a lifetime of driving in the slowest traffic, in stop signs that don't move, in lights that don't move, in people that are impatient, to finally, slowly get on the freeway at Sunset, which isn't even where the construction ended. The construction ended at Moraga. It took me to go from Anaheim to the Encino area 2.5 hours on a Saturday afternoon. And that says a lot of things. One, it says that traffic in this area is garbage and is never getting any better. And you close down one part of one freeway, it screws it for everybody. But remember, I could have taken all these other freeways and my Maps app said this one would be better. And it was so wrong. And then when it told me to get off the freeway, that was so wrong. That whole detour of taking Bundy and Barrington and all that nonsense was supposed to save me 6 minutes. It did not save me 6 minutes. I feel like it cost me an extra 45 minutes. And now I'm extra frustrated because it's one thing to sit on a freeway and suffer. But when you start agreeing with these apps and taking these shortcuts, now you're constantly moving lanes, you're constantly changing lights, you're going through neighborhoods you're not used to, and it stresses me out. So I'm pretty frustrated with my Maps app. I don't even know why I open it. I only go to a few places. Here's what I want to know from you. At 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You all have GPS on your phone. Maybe you use Apple Maps. Maybe you use Google Maps. Maybe you use Waze. Has Apple Maps, Google Maps, or Waze ever screwed you over, given you a shortcut that definitely was not a shortcut? Have you given up on trusting these apps as I have? Because I don't think they take common sense into what is the fastest route, especially when you go through side streets that have tons and tons and tons of red lights. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Have you ever been screwed over by your GPS app? Do you even trust these map apps? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You all have to suffer in traffic. I'm sure something like this has happened to you. Call in and share your story or tell me why I am such a fool for trusting Apple to begin with. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Get on the line right now. We're going to be taking your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It took me 2.5 hours on Saturday afternoon to get back from Anaheim to the San Fernando Valley. And I blame that on my Apple Maps app that told me the best way to go was to the 405 where the construction was happening, and then instead of staying on the 405, have me take a detour through horrible, traffic-infested West LA with everybody else trying to save a minute off their time. My question to you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is this: have you been screwed over by your GPS app where they sent you on a terrible shortcut? Do you even trust these apps that they know what they're doing anymore? I don't. and I fell for it. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you trust your GPS apps to give you accurate directions? Let's go to Chris in Porter Ranch. Chris, hello.
Hey, Randy, what's going on?
Doing great.
Great. Hey, listen, I had that same issue on Friday, was going to Palm Springs, and everyone knows that on a Friday afternoon, if you're not on the freeway to your destination before or after noon, you're never going to make it there on time. So basically, we left around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and my app said take the 14 to the Pear Blossom Highway, or the back way to Vegas, they say. And that ended up costing me 5 hours to get to Palm Springs. It was a joke. I'll never trust those stupid apps again.
You know, that happened to my father-in-law. They were driving from Dallas to New Mexico, then New Mexico to Arizona. Then they were driving from Arizona to here. They got to Barstow, and the traffic going into LA looked so bad that their GPS said, take Pear Blossom Highway. It did not save them any time.
No, because it's a 2-lane highway, and then you go through these little towns, and everybody that took that same shortcut that the app was telling me to do was backing up traffic at the signals by 20 minutes each signal. So you figure 3 signals at 20 minutes a pop, it's costing you an extra hour. It's terrible.
You're so right about that. And when you see that shortcut, so do 1,000 other people, and they do it, and it no longer is a shortcut. I feel for you, buddy. Thanks so much for the call, Chris. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Have you ever been screwed over by your map apps, whether it's Apple Maps, Google Maps, or Waze? Have you ever been led in the worst possible way to get somewhere? Do you trust these apps that they actually know how to save you time? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We're getting right back to your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randykabc@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. It took me 2.5 hours to get from Orange County back to the San Fernando Valley on a Saturday afternoon. Why? Well, in part, my Maps app, Apple Maps, told me the best way to go was the 405 that was shut down for construction. And then when I got there, it said, try to go around it through West LA. I should have known better, and I feel like I'm a fool now for trusting this app. Have you been screwed over by a GPS app where it gave you just terrible advice? Do you even trust these things to know how to actually save you time on the road? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Thanks for holding, everybody. Let's go to Mike in Burbank. Mike, hello.
Hello, Randy. How you doing?
Doing great.
Okay. The best example I can think of to prove your point is, how about that German tourist family a few years ago that were out in Death Valley touring around, and the GPS took them out on a dirt road out into the desert, and they all perished out there.
Oh, my goodness. I had forgotten about that story.
Yep. That's the best example I can think of.
Yeah, you can't have blind faith in these apps. It's like that episode of The Office where it tells Michael Scott, take a right turn, and he drives right into a lake.
Exactly. They're out there in a rental car, and it turned out to be a 4-wheel drive road.
Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you so much for the call, Mike. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Are any of these apps actually better than the others, or are they all just kind of full of it when they know how to shave a minute off your trip by getting off the freeway and on the freeway and off the freeway and on the freeway? Let's go to Patty in Yorba Linda. Patty, hello.
Hey, Randy. So as I told your screener, I work for a dental lab, and I drive a lot delivering and picking up, orders, etc. And my boss actually said, because I use Google Maps and or Waze, and he said, it's not going to tell you what time you're going to get there, but download the SIG Alert app. So SIG Alerts app, because what it does, it's a map that actually highlights in different colors what the freeway is at that particular moment. And I'm in Brea, and then I have to go down to like Newport. So let's say it's the 57 South, which is always a nightmare. And you can see if it's pure red, or the 91 East. If it's pure red, if it's green, you're good to go. Again, it's not going to tell you what time you're getting there, but if you do a combination of that with your Google map, where it says, oh yeah, it's only going to take you 30 minutes, but then you look at your SIG Alert and you're like, how is that happening? Am I in a helicopter or something? I'm going to make it there in 30 minutes. So anyway, that's the app that I would suggest, just to so you can have a visual of what the freeways actually look like.
That's a really great idea. I didn't even think to download their app. I use their website all the time. If I have to cover for a traffic report, I go to sigalert.com and I could tell exactly where all the terrible freeways are. Hey, what do you know? The 405 is bad right now. But that's a really, really great idea. And yeah, I've got to do a little more. I got to have two references before I decide to trust one of these things and take the 405 on a day where the 405 is shut down.
Well, plus, I think you actually stated it correctly. We're all getting that same advice. So we're all taking the 405 or whatever you just said. It's like, all right, well, then that just kind of messed that advice up. So anyway, when you were asking, is there a good app? I'm like, well, I use SIG Alert. So.
Good to know. I appreciate you calling in and letting me know, Patty. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Have you ever been screwed over by your GPS? Mine told me on a day where the 405 was closed for construction to take the 405, but get around that construction by driving through West LA. I'm still mad about it. Let's go to Mark in San Diego. Mark, hello.
Hey, Randy. Yeah, I don't know why I keep trusting Google Maps. I keep doing it, though, and they keep sending me to crazy. What frustrates me the most is I should just look around and maybe get out a paper map, because I end up on a dirt road sometimes. And I'm like, there's no way. I'm going to Reno or something, and you're taking me try to find the 395, and I'm out in the desert on a road that almost doesn't exist. It happened to me in 2 states, and I keep trusting it, and I kick myself for not turning around and finding a real map. They don't know what
I feel ya. I feel ya. I have been there, and I think you and I will both be there again soon.
Yeah, I gotta get my maps back from AAA and just put them in the back of the seat, so I can pull out a map that has lines on it.
We're gonna have to bring back the Thomas Guide. Thanks so much for the call, Mark. Appreciate it. This reminds me of the last time I did a road trip to San Francisco, which I am dying to go back there. I love San Francisco, really do. Incredible restaurants. Golden Gate Park is magical, and I love taking Waymos. Waymos are super cool. So we drove the fast way, the ugly way, up the 5. And we're getting through the East Bay, through Dublin and Oakland, and we're getting to the Bay Bridge. And it starts slowing down quite a bit because we made the brilliant decision to drive into San Francisco on the day of the Pride Parade. And my wife and I were competing. She had Google Maps that was giving her certain bad advice, and Apple Maps was giving me other bad advice, including telling me to take streets that were closed. It took us 4.5 hours to get from the San Fernando Valley to Oakland, and 2.5 hours to get from the Bay Bridge to our hotel in downtown San Francisco. I'll never forget that trip. We finished an entire Harry Potter book. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Alan in Agora. Alan, hello.
Hey, Brandy. The first rule of map apps is to never use Apple Maps. When they first came out, they had mislocated the Golden Gate Bridge and the Eiffel Tower. The guy who created it got fired, and it's never worked well since. The best app, and it's not perfect, is Waze, W-A-Z-E, because it's crowdsourced in real time. And so the guy ahead of you on the road will tell you what's going on, including where the police are. I use it every day.
Good to know. I'd forgot that about Waze, that it'll tell you if there's a checkpoint coming up, which can be very advisable. Thanks so much for the call, Alan. Appreciate it. Although, didn't Google buy Waze? So Waze is pretty much Google now? Let's go to John in Costa Mesa. John, hello.
Hey, how you doing? Big Wang! How you doing, buddy?
Doing great.
I get into this with my wife all the time. We're traveling around LA, and it's the same thing. We'll end up with going through all the different apps looking to how to get through, and we'll get 3 different routes for 3 different apps to the same location. And it's bizarre because they're telling you arrival times, but they're all over the place. And so it's like a crapshoot. So it's kind of a game to us, even though we know we're going to get screwed because we're going to pick the wrong one. But I get a kick out of the fact that you can check multiple apps, and they're all telling you different things. And not one of them's the same, which is weird to me. I would think 2 of them would be the same and 1 would be off. But it's notorious that you'll end up with 3, and they're telling you 3 different ways to get to the same place.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And in some places, especially where internet reception gets spotty, then you're really screwed. But yeah, these apps give you completely different routes, and some of them don't make any sense whatsoever. Thanks so much for the call, John. Appreciate it. I'll tell you, if you are ever thinking of taking a trip to Carmel by the Sea, which is one of the top 5 most beautiful places in all of California, not only is the weather incredible, you've got the beach, you've got the hiking, you've got all the dogs, it's a wonderful, wonderful place that has no cell reception whatsoever. So make sure you have a documented way to get to your hotel, because also Carmel by the Sea doesn't have a whole lot of street signs or street numbers. And if you are thinking of taking a rideshare app, just be prepared. When we went to Carmel over Labor Day weekend last year, we flew in because you could fly JSX from Burbank to Monterey, and it's just like a 15-minute Uber from Monterey to our hotel. We stayed at the Cypress Inn Doris Days Hotel. I loved it. But when we were finishing up the trip, packing up, called that Uber. Well, Lyft. I always use Lyft, but everyone says Uber. I called the Lyft, and we had given us ample time to get to the airport, get on the JSX. I am sitting there with all my bags right there on 7th outside of the hotel, and it just looks like the driver is stuck on Ocean. And I'm like, what is going on? Is there some parade? Why is he stuck on Ocean? He's not moving. Once you get to Ocean and once you get into Carmel by the Sea, the reception just completely drops out, and even Lyft and Uber don't know where your car is. So it said that he was sitting there on Ocean, but it wasn't. He was driving around trying to find us, and finally see a car pull up that looks like it and is like, I've been trying to find you, but there's no street numbers. Just remember that if you're ever thinking of taking rideshare in Carmel by the Sea. Other than that, beautiful place. A little pricey. Let's go to Mickey in Encino. Mickey, hello.
Yeah, how you doing, Randy? Just going to try to share with you super quickly. As far as those stupid apps, I remember my older brother picked me up one time who's got like not one, but I think 2 PhDs. And I remember we had to get to the freeway entrance, which I've lived next to for no less than 1 trillion years. And he kept insisting because of this stupid GPS. Oh no, we're not going that way. It says this other way, which was clearly out of the way, much further. I was begging him. I said, "Look, I've lived here for a time." No. The GPS says this is the. It was so stupid, Randy. I cannot begin to tell you, that we went out of the way needlessly for an. We're right by. If you gather what I'm saying, a stone's throw away. And he was just so positive the GPS knew what it was talking about, which it didn't. And the last thing is I just thought I might teach you a new word. I know you were saying before, something, whatever it was full of, and of course you can't say the next word. So I thought I'd teach you a Yiddish word for your Jewish listeners, but probably know this. The word is drek, spelled D, like David, R-E-K, drek. And that means, full of drek, or it tastes like drek, or you get the idea. So there's a new word for you.
It's not a new word to me. I do know it because when I used to work for Tim Conway, he used Yiddish all the time, even though he's not even a little bit Jewish. But yes, full of dreck is a great one. I love it. Thanks so much for the call, Mickey. Appreciate it. And Happy New Year. Thanks so much for the call. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. More of your calls, and we'll read some of your emails next about crappy GPS apps. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Moss writes in at randykabc@gmail.com. Come on, Randy, you love to be in your EV car. You should practice what you preach and should have grabbed a couple of smash burgers before you start on a drive to whittle away the time. If I wasn't on a diet, believe you me, I would have rage ate something. Carl's Jr., Jack in the Box, all of it. What's more frustrating is being an Uber driver with the same GPS problems and listening to the riders complain. I hope you're just as entertaining when you go to Santa Fe and don't have the West Side problems. Funny you mentioned that. I got a story for you when we come back. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. So just to be fair, it's not always the app's fault. This summer, when we were flying to New Mexico for my 40th birthday, we flew into Albuquerque, and my wife rented a car because there were a lot of people at the house. So we rented a car and drove up 25 to get to Santa Fe. And my wife drives, I'm the navigator. And so I pull up my Apple Maps, and I know exactly where the address is. I know what the exit is. We've been there so many times. Well, this rental car, like most rental cars, had Sirius XM. And so we pop on the 90s channel, and it's just banger after banger after banger, and we're singing along, and we're having a great time. And my wife's like, are we close yet? I feel like we should be close. And I look at the app, and I'm like, oh, yeah, we're only about 5 minutes away. And then 5 minutes drops by, and I'm like, oh, we're so close. I turn the app off. And now it's 10 minutes later, and we're still not there. And my wife's like, what's going on? I don't even recognize what's going on here. I wasn't paying attention and I missed the exit. And then when I looked at the app, we actually had gone past it and I looked at it upside down. So I thought we hadn't gotten to it yet. So it took us an extra 20 minutes to have to turn around and get back into town. And it almost made us late to the shed. So that one was on me. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.